When a nation rises, the world feels the tremor. When a people awaken, history bows to their rhythm. India, once whispered as ancient, now speaks as eternal, carrying tomorrow in her arms, while the world leans in to listen. India does not rise on borrowed ground, nor does she lean on the shoulders of another's story. Her ascent is built on a heritage that stretches beyond the reach of time, beyond the pages of history that men wrote, and into the spirit that has been passed down through generations. This heritage is not just memory, not just nostalgia. It is breath, it is heartbeat, it is the spine of a people who have endured and yet stand unbroken. Stones etched with ancient carvings whisper of civilizations that thrived when the rest of the world was yet learning to walk. Scriptures, written in flowing verse, still speak of truths that guide both the farmer in the field and the scientist in the laboratory. Temples, mosques, churches, and gurdwaras rise side by side as monuments not just of faith, but of continuity, of resilience, of a culture that has never surrendered its essence to time's erosion. Heritage is not a museum, it is a living flame. It feeds innovation as much as it feeds tradition. It is why the child learning mathematics under a banyan tree can trace the roots of numbers back to Aryabhata, and the artist painting on a village wall carries the echo of Ajanta and Ellora in her hands. It is why yoga breathes peace into bodies across continents, and Ayurveda heals beyond borders. Heritage is India's invisible export, carried in song, in philosophy, in practice, in rhythm, transforming the global stage quietly, without fanfare, yet with undeniable impact. A nation that remembers its beginning does not fear its future. India's heritage also teaches the lesson of humility. Great kingdoms have risen and fallen on her soil, but the spirit of the land never broke. Foreign invaders came with swords, stayed with power, and left with memories, but India absorbed and transformed every influence, weaving it into her vast fabric. This ability to carry the weight of history without being crushed, to absorb the world without losing oneself, is not weakness. It is profound strength. The Taj Mahal, built by a ruler from another land, is as Indian as the Vedas. The Urdu couplet is as Indian as the Sanskrit hymn. Heritage here is not static. It is elastic, stretching across centuries, embracing change while preserving soul. To rise in the present, India does not need to discard her past. Instead, she carries it as a lantern, lighting her path forward. A people who bow their heads before elders, who touch the earth before stepping into new ventures, who pray before they eat, are not bound by ritual. They are bound by gratitude. Gratitude to those who came before, gratitude to the soil that feeds them, gratitude to the cosmos that sustains them. It is this gratitude that steadies her rise, keeping arrogance at bay, keeping wisdom near. The world measures strength in weapons, in wealth, in influence, but the strength of India is measured in her continuity. When the pyramids were young, India's sages were already composing hymns. When the Renaissance painted Europe, India's poets sang verses of divine love. When modernity questions meaning, India's philosophy still answers with depth. This unbroken chain of knowledge, tradition, and culture is her shield and her sword. No empire can claim such an inheritance. No other rising power can boast of roots that run this deep. India's heritage is not merely for her own pride. It is a gift to humanity. In the rhythm of her classical dance, the world finds the story of creation and destruction. In the discipline of her meditation, nations discover healing for restless minds. In the warmth of her festivals, strangers become family. The heritage of India is humanity's compass, pointing toward balance, toward unity, toward purpose. And as she rises on the global stage, she does not rise empty-handed. She carries the wisdom of millennia as an offering to the world, reminding all who listen that a future without roots is fragile, but a future anchored in heritage can weather any storm. A land where 1,000 tongues flow into one melody, where faiths as different as the rising sun and the evening moon share the same horizon, India is not divided by her diversity, she is defined by it. 1 billion voices echo across her plains and mountains, yet they converge into one heartbeat that beats steady and strong. To outsiders, this kaleidoscope of languages, cultures, and traditions might appear chaotic, too varied to hold together, yet within India, it is this very plurality that creates harmony. Difference does not weaken her, it strengthens her resolve. Diversity here is not an obstacle to unity, it is the very foundation of it. Every village tells a story, every festival lights the sky with unique hues, every dialect adds another note to the grand symphony. From the chants of priests along the Ganges to the call to prayer from a mosque, from the hymns of churches to the hymns of gurdwaras, the air is heavy not with conflict, but with coexistence. This coexistence is not an accident of geography. It is the deliberate choice of a people who have learned over centuries that survival depends not on sameness, but on acceptance. India does not demand that her people become one. She allows them to remain many and yet to belong together. In every corner of this nation, difference has been woven into daily life, like threads of many colors creating a single fabric. A family may celebrate Diwali in one season and Eid in another, their children singing carols at Christmas and sharing sweets at Baisakhi. A traveler can move from Kashmir's saffron fields to Kerala's backwaters and encounter 1,000 customs, yet still feel the same warmth of hospitality. This is India's lesson to the world. Harmony is not achieved by silencing differences, but by letting them sing side by side. This strength of diversity extends far beyond culture into intellect, innovation, and imagination. A nation that speaks in so many languages thinks in so many ways. Ideas are not confined to a single stream. They rush like rivers, colliding, merging, and creating new currents. This diversity of thought fuels India's democracy, one of the largest in the world, where millions of opinions find representation and debate. It fuels her economy, where traditional artisans craft beauty beside cutting, edge scientists designing satellites. It fuels her society, where ancient wisdom and modern vision walk hand in hand. Diversity is India's greatest resource because it ensures that creativity never runs dry and solutions are always many. The world often fears difference. Nations crumble under the weight of division. Communities tear themselves apart when confronted with what they do not understand. Yet India, with all her contradictions, has shown that diversity is not a burden but a treasure chest. Her survival and growth through centuries of invasion, colonization, and globalization prove that she is not fractured by difference but fortified by it. Every attempt to divide her has only deepened her unity, for the people know that their strength lies in standing together while remaining distinct. And now, as India rises onto the global stage, her diversity becomes her most powerful message. In an era where nations struggle with polarization, she demonstrates that 1 billion identities can live as one nation. In a time when intolerance threatens peace, she proves that tolerance is not weakness but wisdom. In a world desperate for bridges, she embodies the bridge itself, connecting past to future, tradition to innovation, spirituality to progress. India's diversity is not just her story. It is a blueprint for humanity, showing how to thrive without erasing identity, how to rise without leaving anyone behind, how to shape a global future without losing the soul of who you are. Once the world doubted whether India could stand on her own feet, But today the same world looks toward her laboratories, her start-ups, her universities, and her innovators with admiration. The nation that once carried the burden of being labeled a developing land now carries the torch of discovery. The spirit of innovation is not born in comfort, it is born in struggle, and India has known struggle more than most. Out of scarcity she learned to create, out of limitation she learned to stretch possibilities, and out of obstacles she learned to craft solutions. This courage of innovation is not just about machines and technologies. It is about the determination of a people who refuse to accept boundaries as final. The story of India's innovation begins with a vision that sees beyond the present. Where some saw poverty, Indians saw opportunity for ingenuity. Where others saw overpopulation, Indians saw limitless human potential. From the fields of agriculture, where farmers have adapted old practices to modern techniques, to the bustling cities where digital revolutions redefine the way millions live and work, India's innovation is wide and deeply rooted. It thrives not in exclusive laboratories alone, but in ordinary homes where everyday people find extraordinary solutions to life's challenges. Consider the audacity of a nation that reached Mars at a fraction of the cost spent by global superpowers, proving that imagination is more valuable than money. Consider the resilience of a nation that created one of the world's largest digital identity systems, connecting hundreds of millions who once lived invisible in the eyes of governance. Consider the strength of a country whose pharmaceutical industry became a lifeline to the world in times of crisis, providing affordable medicines not only for her own people, but for humanity at large. These are not isolated achievements. They are milestones along a path paved with courage, foresight, and unwavering belief in possibility. But innovation in India is not limited to science and technology. It pulses through art, through culture, through ways of living. A village craftsman weaving patterns that generations before him passed down is innovating by preserving heritage in a changing world. A young entrepreneur coding in a crowded cafe is innovating by shaping tomorrow's digital landscape. A woman in a rural community designing solar-powered lamps for homes without electricity is innovating by turning hardship into light. Each act, big or small, is a declaration that creativity is the lifeblood of progress, and that India's well of creativity will never run dry. What makes this courage of innovation remarkable is its inclusiveness. It is not reserved for an elite. It belongs to the many. Children in villages study robotics, women in remote regions lead businesses, and students from modest homes dream of space. Every corner of the nation hums with ambition, with an unshakable faith that where one door closes, another can be built. This democratization of innovation ensures that progress is not hoarded, but shared, reaching those who need it most. The world sees India as an emerging superpower not only because of her population or her economy, but because of her relentless creativity. She does not mimic others, she charts her own course. She does not wait for permission, she forges ahead. Her inventions are not just answers to her own problems, but blueprints for global challenges: affordable health care, renewable energy, digital governance, education for all. In every sector, she offers solutions that the world cannot ignore, because they are born from necessity, nurtured with imagination, and executed with courage. India's courage of innovation is not loud, yet it is unstoppable. It grows silently, steadily, with the certainty of a river carving through stone. It proves to the world that true power does not lie in repeating what has been done, but in daring to do what has never been imagined. And as India rises, her courage to innovate ensures that her ascent will not just lift her people, but will shape the destiny of the world itself. Look into the eyes of India's youth, and you will see a flame that refuses to be dimmed. They are not bound by the limitations of the past, nor are they satisfied with merely inheriting what was handed down. They are creators, dreamers, builders of a new tomorrow, and their footsteps shake the very ground they walk upon. With more than half of the nation's population under the age of 35, India does not just have youth. She has an ocean of energy, restless, determined, and unstoppable. This is not a generation content to watch history unfold. It is a generation intent on writing it with their own hands. Their strength does not come from privilege. It comes from hunger, hunger for change, hunger for opportunity, hunger to prove that no dream is too large for them to pursue. From small towns to sprawling metropolises, they carry laptops instead of lanterns, visions instead of doubts, and a confidence that speaks louder than any challenge placed before them. They are fluent in the language of technology, but they are equally fluent in the language of courage. Every startup launched, every app designed, every classroom revolutionized is a testament to the daring spirit of India's youth. But their power is not only in the digital and technological domains. It lies in their refusal to accept injustice, in their voices that rise against inequality, in their hands that reach out to lift others. They are rewriting the meaning of leadership, no longer waiting for someone else to show the way. They lead in classrooms, in neighborhoods, in companies, in movements. They carry the torch of democracy forward, reminding the world that the largest democracy on earth is also the youngest, vibrant with ideas and impatient for progress. Education is their weapon, connectivity is their armor, and ambition is their heartbeat. Millions of young minds dream of space exploration, of building sustainable cities, of transforming healthcare, of erasing illiteracy. They are not satisfied with survival. They aim for significance. They understand that their destiny is intertwined not only with the future of their nation, but with the future of humanity. When an Indian student creates a groundbreaking discovery in artificial intelligence, or an athlete rises to the global stage with unmatched resilience, or a young activist fights for climate justice, they are not just lifting themselves, they are lifting the world with them. What makes this youth remarkable is their ability to balance tradition with modernity. They dance to global rhythms while carrying the beats of their ancestors in their hearts. They code in futuristic languages, but bow their heads to touch the feet of elders. They embrace the global while never abandoning the local. This duality gives them strength, anchoring them in identity while propelling them toward innovation. The world sees a contradiction, but they see completeness. The rise of India's youth is not confined to urban centers. In villages where opportunity was once scarce, young boys and girls now dream bigger than their circumstances, and technology has become their bridge. Online classrooms bring worlds into their hands. Microloans give wings to entrepreneurial visions. And renewable energy projects light up not only homes but aspirations. The silent revolution of rural youth is as powerful as the loud triumphs of urban youth, and together they create a force no power on earth can deny. The eyes of India's young are unafraid. They have looked at the challenges of unemployment, of inequality, of climate change, and they have chosen to fight rather than flee. They know that progress is not handed freely. It is seized with determination. They are not asking for shortcuts. They are demanding opportunities, and when those opportunities are scarce, they are creating them with their own grit. Their spirit is the assurance that India's rise is not a question of if, but only of when. The world will witness a future led by this generation, for they are not only heirs to a rich history, but authors of a destiny that will reshape the globe. India has been tested by fire more times than history can count. She has been conquered, divided, and exploited, yet never destroyed. Empires came with their armies, rulers came with their crowns, merchants came with their greed, but none could erase the spirit that pulsed in the heart of her people. That spirit is resilience, quiet, unshaken, and enduring. Resilience is not the absence of suffering, it is the refusal to be broken by it. And in India, resilience is not a trait of the few, it is the soul of the many. Centuries of colonization tried to strip her of dignity, yet even in chains, she sang songs of freedom. Partition attempted to break her body, yet her heart beat stronger than before. Poverty sought to silence her ambition, yet her people dreamed louder than despair could contain. This resilience is not loud, it does not roar like a storm. It whispers like the dawn, steady, inevitable, and unstoppable. Where others see defeat, India sees a lesson. Where others see ending, she sees beginning. It is this resilience that explains why she rises again and again, stronger with every fall. In the farmer who works the land through drought and flood, resilience is alive. In the child who studies by candlelight, refusing to surrender to circumstance, resilience is alive. In the soldier guarding borders in the harshest winters, resilience is alive. It flows through ordinary people, making them extraordinary. Each struggle faced by the people of India has been transformed into strength. Each setback has become a stepping stone. This alchemy of pain into purpose is what defines the Indian spirit. Resilience is also the reason India grows with patience. She does not demand recognition, she earns it. She does not shout to prove her worth, she shows it through action. Like a river carving valleys, her progress may appear slow, but it is constant, deep, and undeniable. The world measures strength in weapons and wealth, but India knows true strength lies in endurance, in the ability to keep walking when the road is long, in the faith to keep planting seeds even when harvest seems far away. The silence of India's resilience is her greatest power. She does not need to announce her victories for them to matter. When she launches satellites, when she leads digital revolutions, when she lifts millions from poverty, the world may be surprised, but India is not. She has always known her potential. She has always known that resilience is not about surviving the storm, but about learning to dance in the rain. This resilience is not confined to survival. It is creative, it is transformative. It is what allows India to absorb influences without losing herself, to embrace change without surrendering her essence. When the world brought foreign languages, India added them to her own. When the world brought new faiths, India welcomed them into her soil. When the world brought new systems, India adapted them to her heartbeat. This ability to bend without breaking, to absorb without erasing, is resilience turned into art. Today, as India rises, the same resilience that carried her through centuries of trials carries her toward a future of strength. She is not rising with arrogance, but with quiet assurance. She is not rising to dominate, but to endure, to inspire, to shape. The patience of her people, the perseverance of her spirit, the endurance of her culture, these are the foundations that make her ascent unstoppable. Resilience is not just a part of India's story. It is the ink with which the entire story is written. And it is this unshakable, silent resilience that ensures her place as a superpower shaping the future of the world.